Yes, good evening, sir. By names of Anest, Anest, with the reg number 19 stroke U stroke AED stroke 10590 PD. I've come to present about the risks in businesses. So let's go to the slide that is showing the risks in businesses. When we talk about risks in business, the term risk refers to the probability that an event may adversely affect the achievement of the project objectives. Then I've continued to research more about the risks as I was trying to advance on the definition. I made more about the risk in reference to a project. And let's move to that slide. It is called project risk. The definition, it says this refers to the potential that the project may not attain its intended goals and purposes. Then the next slide is talking about risk identification. This leads how to identify the risks within the business, and if I'm to talk about them more, it says this is the process of determining the risks that could potentially prevent the successful implementation of the project and may prevent its ability to achieve its objectives. And risks, as I have talked that it is about risk identification. Risks can be identified using the following ways. There are specifically 3 ways of identifying risks. One is using consultant. The second one is root cause analysis, being pessimist. Then the last one is using SWOT analysis. Then if I'm talking about this one, the last one, for using the SWOT, the word SWOT, it is made of 4 letters, that is SWOT. If I'm to talk each letter independently, for S stands for strength, W stands for weaknesses, O stands for opportunities, and T stands for threats. So if I'm talking about this for the strength and weaknesses, those are internal, they are within the business. Then opportunities and threats, they are external. So those are the 3 ways how risks can be identified within the business. Then if I'm take you to the next slide, the next slide is asking for the need for purpose of risk identification. This needs the advantages or it needs the reasons and the advantages of identifying risks within the business, and there are specifically 3 of them. First one is it helps to reveal what, where, when, why, and how an event could affect the organization's ability to function as expected. When I talk about, if I'm to explain more about this point, when you talk about what that means that it needs the thing that is supposed to be input into consideration, the thing that is supposed to be done. Then where, the place, why it is supposed to be done. Is it at the business premises, would it be on the internet, okay, it would depend where it means the place. Then when, that is the time. At what time should it be implemented? At what time should it be done? Then why, the reason as why it is supposed to be done. You give a reason why you need to take up a certain risk before you taking it. Then and how, the process, the thing that will be the action that will be taking place for that thing to be taking place. Then the next point, it is saying it helps to minimize the negative impact of project threats. As I talked to you about this, the SWOT analysis, I said threats, they are external. So when it says that it helps to minimize the negative impact of project threats, that means that it helps to reduce the negative impact of the threats, the things that are trying to compress the business, but they are external. So that means when you take when you be taking the risks, you minimize, you reduce them. Then as I take you to the next slide, it is asking the risk management process. When we talk about the risk management process, the risk management process, this is the action things you do, the things you do as an individual, as someone who is taking up the risk. And if I'm talking about more about this process, it is in its order. That means that you should know there are some things you do first before the other one, because they are First of all, there are 5. There is identification, there is identifying the risk, analyze the risk, evaluate the risk, treat the risk, monitor and review the risk. Which means that you cannot bring the point of reviewing when you have not identified, when you have not analyzed, when you have not evaluated, when you have not treated. That means that these 4 points are in their order. You're supposed to identify the risk you are supposed to take in the business, then you analyze it, which risk, how is it, then you evaluate it, you see how strong it is, then you treat it, you see the way how you're going to treat it, then lastly you monitor and review the risk. Then as I continue to the next slide, it is asking the risk management strategies. When I talk about the risk management strategies, that means that it is asking about the things you do, so that you reduce or you control the risk. The first one, of course, I've made research about this. Therefore, there is risk avoidance. If the risk, you see that it is going to bring for you, it is going to compress your business the more to the negative side, you avoid it. You don't take up that risk. Then the next one, it is risk reduction, stock mitigation or control. You are supposed to reduce them. You should not overtake the risks. You should control them. Now and then you should not be taking risks up and down daily. Then the next one, it is risk transfer, stroke sharing. Then that is, you have to share the risks. Then there is risk acceptance. You have to accept some risks, because there is no business that can grow without accepting the risks. Then if I'm taking you to the next slide, I'll talk about the principles of risk management. The first one is accept the risk when the benefits outweigh the costs. If you are to take up some risks, you are supposed to see how they are supposed to benefit you. You outweigh them, you weigh them, you say that you see the negative side and the positive side. If you find the positive side is overweighing the negative side, you take up. And if you find the negative side is overweighing the positive side, you leave it. Then the next one, accept no unnecessary risks. You're not supposed to allow now and then every risk to be in your business. Then the next one, it is anticipate and manage risks by planning. You're supposed to plan for the risks. Then the next one, as I conclude this presentation, it is saying make risk decisions at the right level. You're not supposed to overweigh the risks or you underweigh the risk. So that is my presentation. Nice time.